What can you tell me about this year edition of the festival comparing to the past years?
The festival has been something of a disappointment to most of us here. There hasn't been very much that we could all rally around, that we could say this is an extraordinary film. Most of us have felt that the films that have been here have been fairly lightweight. Some of them have been actively bad. Others have been okay, but we question why they're in Cannes. And others, there are a few that have made people talk, but there isn't anything that has really excited people.
What can you tell me about the Romanian movies competing this year?
Well, they were competing in one sense. They were non certain regard, so and one was out of competition. I think that all three of them are fascinating in different ways. The Radu Muntean's film is beautifully made. Really, his construction is impeccable. For me, I had a problem with the central male character because I don't think that he has enough of a personality to drive the story. The women are much better defined, even though they're smaller roles. So in a way, I didn't feel I was emotionally involved in the film as much as I wanted to, and instead I admired it very much for his skill as a director. In Aurora, Cristi Puiu's film, it's an incredibly impressive film. I don't think that even Puiu himself made it for people to like it. It's not a film that you can walk out saying, gosh, I really liked that movie. It's a difficult film to like in a way because it's fairly cold, it's very cerebral. It's also very impressive, and you watch it and you know that you're watching a movie by a great director. Then with the autobiography of Nicolae Ceausescu, I think the film is extraordinary. I like it enormously. I think it's going to be fascinating to see what happens when it comes out in Romania, because it's dividing already a lot of people. A lot of people seem to want the film to be something that it's not. And I think because we haven't had an important documentary about Ceausescu in a traditional way, which says all of the horrible things that he did, which analyzes his dictatorship, because we don't have that. And we need to have that. Many people I've spoken to want this film, Andrei Ujica's film, to be like that film. That doesn't exist yet, and it's not. That's not what he wanted to make. And I think it's very important for people to remember that other documentary, the one that we also want, which details all of the atrocities of his regime, that will come one day. But that's not what this film is. This is something else.
Was it a surprise that the movie Ha 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 won the section Un certain regard?
I think it was a surprise for some people. I'm afraid I haven't seen the film, so I can't really comment on whether for me it would have been a surprise. Perhaps it was the best film in the section. I don't know.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the jury procedure? How they do decide what movie should win the grand prize?
I think it's important for everybody to remember that a jury is comprised of personalities, and usually very strong personalities. And what that means is there's always conflict. There are always partnerships and alliances. And so every decision that a jury comes to is invariably a compromise. Which is why when we hear what the awards are, who gets the awards, many of us say, how could they have done that? Well, probably because it was a compromise. Film has the wonderful ability to galvanize us and to make us passionate about it, and we want to discuss it. And precisely because of that, and because we all have our own personalities and tastes, it also leads to divisiveness.
What can you tell me about the fact that not even one of the Romanian movies didn't win this year?
I think there's a problem, and it's not just with Romania, it's with any country. When a country doesn't win after they've won for a few years, they think, oh gosh, maybe we're doing something wrong. And something I've been trying to tell to Romanian colleagues in particular in the last few years is if you don't win one year, it's fine. Even if you don't have a film in Cannes one year, that's fine too. It's it's a problem if you're constantly insistent on having something every year. It can't happen. No country can sustain that sort of thing. What's happening in Romania is extraordinary now, and what's wonderful is, although we're all talking about the same directors over the last few years, and Munju and Puiu and Porumboiu, there are a number of other young directors who are coming up, the directors of the shorts, for example. And so I have no fear that somehow the bubble is going to burst. I'm strong. I have a great conviction that Romania is going to continue to produce extraordinary films. It's just they don't have to win every year.